Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ground Up with Natalee. Today, I have a very special guest, Jessica Gill, who is the producer and director of To Be Magnetic, a podcast and website where you can really make all your manifestation dreams come true. We talk about all things manifesting, and we actually debunk what you probably think manifesting is about, what I thought manifesting was about. And she gives really awesome tools that you can start using literally tomorrow on your journey of turning your dreams into a reality. So definitely stay tuned and welcome back. Our producer here on Ground Up, Mastermind, Mark, was telling me that he personally knows a couple people that have used To Be Magnetic, and it like drastically changed their life. Yeah. Which even made me, just by knowing, like, you know, I read all about it on your website, but like knowing one person, I'm like, okay, I might like actually do a workshop on there. So I'm super excited to look into that. So today we're pretty much going to talk about all things manifesting, and I feel like it's going to get into a lot of debunking. And I know the base level of manifesting, and like I created a journal that essentially you could say has some manifesting elements in it, but it was more unintentional than it being like a manifesting journal. But we are going to start the episode how we start all of our interview episodes, which is with the Ground Up 3. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Okay. They're really difficult. Question number 1 is, where are you from, Jessica?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm from Central Jersey, a town called South Brunswick. It's kind of sandwiched between Princeton and Rutgers, so 2 college towns. Nice. Very suburban lifestyle out there in Jersey, and I don't think I have a Jersey accent, but you guys be the test.
I don't hear it. Okay, and then what was your first job, like paid job?
Oh, I was a Stop and Shop cashier.
Nice.
Yeah, it was the closest thing. I didn't have a car yet. I think I was like 13 or 14, and you could get that at that age, and I would just, check people out of the grocery line.
Wow. You can get a job at like 14 in Jersey?
So, yeah.
I remember in California, I'm from here, it's 16, and I remember being 15 and being like, I can't wait until I turn 16 so I can apply at Albertsons. Yes. And then I did, and I got the job.
Oh, so another grocery store.
Yes.
See, it's fun. Did you play the grocery store, like, did you have one of those fake grocery store things where you like can ring people up? There was like a little text
as a kid?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we manifested it.
Totally, right? I had a Barbie one. Did you have that one?
I don't think I had a Barbie one. But I do remember it had like a little, scanner where you click it and it made a sound.
Why did we like that so much? Like scanning. And I remember I was a bagger though at Albertsons, and you had to be 18 to be a cashier person. And I was like, can't wait.
A loophole somewhere.
Right?
Stop and Shop's going to be like, don't talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then what was your first dream job?
It's funny. I just helped my mom move out of our childhood home, and I found all my journals. So I got to actually see, it kind of morphed over the years. I wanted a combination of being a hotel owner so I could design all my favorite spaces.
Cute.
And also something in entertainment. I wanted to be like a pop star or like an actress or like make movies. Yeah. And I went to film school. So I think I started on that trend.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting story right there. I guess we can start there. So you wanted to go to film. So you went to film school. Yeah. What did you want to do in film? Be a writer?
Yeah. So I think the main, like core desire underneath of it is like, so many times I remember getting HBO when it was like it felt new at the time, and I was able to watch like really cool films. They always had like the highest quality films, and I remember watching them late at night, and I felt like, wow, so inspired, so moved, and there were so many stories that kind of opened my eyes to a world that was like outside of Central Jersey. And I was like, okay, I want to tell stories that are going to impact people's lives in the same way. And so I went to film school to do production, direction, writing, kind of the whole gambit. Got in the industry, started working for a unscripted television production company, and sort of worked way up there from executive assistant into their casting department. Was casting for reality TV for a while, and then got to like produce direct towards the end there. And that was in New York, and then eventually came out to LA and was doing freelance and all of that stuff. And that's kind of what actually led me to manifestation, because I was like, okay, I'm in these projects and I'm making good money, but I'm not kind of getting the jobs or the shows that like fill up my soul. And then, I got really inspired by the likes of like Issa Rae, was like taking something from like the beginning stages all the way up, because the narrative you hear in film and television, you probably know, is like, you have to pay your dues. Every single person out of college was like, you have to work for an agency and, you'll be there this many years. And I was like, no, why? I want to start now.
Yeah.
Like, why? I have stories now. Like, why would I do that?
Or the paying your dues is it's not like being, the janitor first. It's like a different way of doing that, which is like writing your own stuff, pitching it to people, like doing it a more creative route, less than like, other than doing it a route where like you're miserable.
100%. And I saw people go down that route, and they're really successful, and they have, great careers, but I just wanted less bureaucracy. I wanted to be more of the artist. And, I was kind of on this like passion, like, how do I tell these stories and share these stories? And I found To Be Magnetic, which is founded by Lacey Phillips. And she kind of debunked and pulled apart manifestation in a way I hadn't heard before. But the root beneath it really was psychology and neuroscience and understanding how the brain changes. And they had started a podcast at the time. And one of the niches of the stories on there was like these member stories and hearing their rock bottoms and these like heartfelt moments. And something inside me was like, oh, I can tell stories like that. Like I could go in now in real people's lives, like making impact. Like this podcast episode is making me have that feeling I was searching for in film. And so I was like, okay, it's time for a pivot. And then went in that direction and started working with them.
Wow. And so how did you have to like do some sort of habit daily or something to where you listen to yourself for that to happen?
I wouldn't say it was like a rock bottom that led me there, but often that's the case that kind of catapults people into like a separate direction. But I was really kind of more in a rut. Like the jobs I was getting, I was like, God, if I have to sit in one more office with like neon lights and like write for whatever many hours a day or like do this research, like I just felt my soul was drained. Like I couldn't wait to get outside for my lunch break and like go get an organic smoothie at the store. Like that was the highlight. And I was like, there's something wrong here.
Yeah, must have made you feel so weird too, because that was your dream essentially.
Yeah.
And so when there's a disconnect, you have to go deep within and be like, okay, where am I not in alignment and how can I make myself aligned with what I want to do, what I'm actually doing? And yeah, when do you take the time to be able to figure that out rather than making 10 years go by and then you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah. And I think one of the things I've learned is, as you are trying to force something to work, things that feel like ease usually are more aligned for your soul. Like I had to kind of step away from my ego part that wanted to like make it in film. No, I went to film school. I have to like be on a show, like it has to look like this. And I was like, but it doesn't have to look like that. You can get every single thing that you want, just like turn 1 degree in a different direction. And I had to really face like, okay, what would it mean for me to leave film? Like all my contacts, my network, everything I knew was
terrifying.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want to leave this. And I still think there's part of me that's like, oh, maybe one day things will align where that will work out again. Not at this moment, but who knows?
But you're not worried about it because you're happy.
Yeah. Like I'm like, oh, I'll if that is the case, it'll be the same message I got, like kind of, we call them pings, but it's like the hit of intuition. It's like when your soul is like, it's time, like move in this direction, like take a step here. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to put my efforts towards, companies that are telling stories like this, podcasts that are doing things like that. And started moving in that direction.
I love that. So let's talk about manifestation and kind of debunk or whatever you want to call it. I'll tell you my kind of definition of it. So I feel like my definition is that quote where it's like, success is when preparation meets opportunity, right? Along with authenticity in your heart and mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're on a path of like, I actually love this and I'm working hard for it. So in my mind, like it is bound to happen for anyone if that's the way that you're doing it. But after listening to Be Magnetic, I'm realizing that it has to do with unblocking certain traumas in your life or childhood traumas or adult ones where you just, you feel blocked, and how to find that and how to do the work. And I feel like I'm really excited today to talk about like quote unquote doing the work.
Yeah.
But first, let's start up with your definition of manifestation.
So I kind of break it down to like brass tacks, like especially in LA, manifestation is such a buzzword. But then I talked to my friends from Jersey and they're like, what the heck is that? And I was like, basically manifestation is having a goal and achieving it in the physical plane. Like you have something you want to set out and achieve, and you can go out and get that and have that and make it a reality. You can manifest it into reality. Go from idea to conception. And so the idea with To Be Magnetic, and Lacey Phillips, the founder, she was studying manifestation, like every possible method. She was actually an actress for a long time and moving her career into becoming an actress. And she noticed she was manifesting in certain realms, but not in others. And she was like, what is this missing piece? Like I'm in the vortex, I'm in the vibration, I'm thinking positive, like everything, is happening in this way. And the one missing piece was that our subconscious is really where we manifest from. She recognized it in her and then thousands of clients. And then now we've gone on to work with neuroscience and psychologists who are really backing this up. But when you think about when you grow up from 0 to 7, your brain's kind of like a sponge. It's taking in all bits of information. It's figuring out how to navigate in the world. And it kind of imprints a blueprint. So it's like, do this to be loved and safe and whatever, don't do this. Reject these parts of yourself because your friends don't like it and you'll get cast from the group. Do this instead. Oh, your parents divorced and that was really painful. Great. Okay, like push people away a little bit because that's not safe for you. Like that's too scary. So you pick up all these things, and a lot of them are completely unconscious. They're stored in our subconscious. That's where our limiting beliefs are. And when it comes to manifesting, I love your definition, agree with every single piece. The only missing piece there is that we often, and Lacey talks about it as like, we're pushing away the things we want because we're still afraid that we're not going to have safety, security, love, like all the things you need in life. So when we can go back and look at, all right, what was our blueprint around this thing? We can start to pull apart and create a new neural pathway that is about, no, even though in a kid, I recognize that the divorce was scary and it wasn't safe, I don't actually need to push it away. I just need to be able to know that I'm safe no matter what happens, like I'm good. And it's a lot of inner child work, reparenting your inner child, so you can stop sort of subconsciously pushing those things away. And then the other two kind of pillars she has in is expansion, like seeing to believe it's possible, knowing that, okay, someone like me did that. Oh, okay, for sure I can do that. It's like an aha moment. And then aligned action, which is exactly what you said, which is taking steps in real time to manifest your dreams. And the aligned action oftentimes gets tripped up if you have those limiting subconscious beliefs because you're self-sabotaging, or you're holding yourself back, or you're playing small, or you're scared to like really embody what it would be like to connect with your manifestation.
Okay. I love all of that. Wow. Mind blown.
Yeah.
So what do you think would be the first step to try and rewire our subconscious mind? I mean, in magic, the journaling method, like we have affirmations, right? Mm-hmm. And I do feel like that is a base level of, manifesting, because I do them every single morning, and they've definitely helped me get over a lot of things, especially in Hollywood, right? Rejection or comparison, or I'm not good enough for this and that. And I just kind of go back to like this morning, I told myself 3 times, like, no, you're good enough. You're a badass. Like, and so it does make me believe those things. However, there are times where I just truly feel unworthy, especially if you're like really being hit over the head with like, no, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. So what is a step that someone could take to kind of rewire our subconscious mind?
Yeah. So we worked with Dr. Tara Swart, who's a MIT neuroscientist, and she really kind of got clear with us on how to transfer and overwrite those limiting beliefs. And affirmations are great. They definitely help impact it. But the one thing with affirmations is it's almost like in the conscious state. So there's only so much like there's so many times you would have to do affirmations in order for it to like really stick. And if you can do it in the subconscious state, it's like super speed. So subconscious means that you're in like a theta brainwave state. So you can get there in meditation. You can listen to binaural beats. A lot of times it's our nervous system won't even let us get down there because we're like frantic and fight or flight. So we have like meditations that are somatic experiencing that like relax your nervous system. So we call it dropping in. It's like drop into that state. And then you can sort of process what's going on down there. And at the end of our meditation, you kind of like, you're like, okay, what is this limiting belief? Where did I pick this up from? Can I process some emotions around it? Can I feel my feelings? Can I speak my needs? Can I see a different pathway? Like, even though this is what I took away from it, are there times that the opposite is true, where I was worthy? And then you have the opportunity to sort of like implant or carve a new neural pathway, which is like that affirmation, like I'm worthy, I'm good enough, no matter what happens, I'm good.
So it's almost like you truly believe it at that point.
Yes.
When you've dug deep in there to see exactly where it came from.
Yes.
Because then you don't give it as much power. Because you're like in that moment with that 6-year-old person in that situation where you did get bullied, and you're like, now you're this adult and you're like, okay, it's not, like hug that person and be like, no, it's okay. It's okay. So you've almost kind of just being tenderhearted with that part of yourself.
Yes.
So it's healing.
Yes.
Right? That's the work. You're healing it.
Yes. You're healing that wound, and then you're taking a positive belief. And it's, we worked with a EMDR therapist, Janelle Nelson. EMDR is incredible for overriding subconscious beliefs. Not everyone has access to an EMDR therapist.
What does that stand for?
Eye movement desensitization, EM desensitization reprocessing.
Okay.
And basically the idea there is your eyes are doing bilateral stimulation, where your eyes are either going from one side to the other. Some therapists will use a light bar, some will do tapping. But it has both sides of your brain hemisphere online. So if you're putting in a new belief, it's like, okay, let's go through both sides, process through, and that actually helps it stick deeper. And also, if you're doing trauma work, it's incredible to process, especially for someone with PTSD. Like, they can bring both sides online and be like, cool, okay, this is how we're gonna, save this memory and store this memory, so it stops giving us that insane reaction every time.
Wow. And there can be like small t traumas too that can affect us in such a big way.
Yeah.
In our adult life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think when it comes to the spectrum of trauma, it's even less about what happened to someone, it's more how they interpreted it. So you could have a big T trauma and one person's nervous system kind of processed it and is okay and is, maybe doing some healing work with it. And you could have someone else where it's completely debilitating. Same with little T traumas. You could have, a bully didn't, said, oh, that dress is lame or something. And that could really sit with you in a way where you're so terrified. And someone else, that might not be the case. They could just kind of brush it off and it's not a big deal.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that the way they interpret it matters in a good way? So it's like, if it was a big T and they it's not even that they just didn't deal with it, but they dealt with it and they're like, you know what, that hurt, whatever, but then they truly got over it? Or do you think it's still deep down? Because I can share like a personal traumas in my life. So like small T would be bullying, right? And I feel like I interpreted girls bullying me in high school like in a very big way, and it definitely affects me today. Whereas like when I was 17, my dad told me that he wasn't my real dad, right? And so that's like big T, right? Been lied to your whole life, your whole family knows, you don't know. Yeah. That type of thing. And so, but I reacted to that like, okay, this is part of my story. Let's go. Like, and there's a lot of layers to that, right? Like, my family doesn't go to therapy, so it was kind of brushed off as well from the adults in the family. So it made me be like, oh, well, this isn't something that we need to deeply talk about anyways. And so I guess I'm dealing with it now, but again, I don't feel this deep-seated trauma from it. And so I'm wondering if I need to like unblock anything there, or if truly I interpreted it differently as maybe a positive, or if it really lies dormant.
I would say it's definitely probably impacting you in some way, shape, or form. You know, especially if you experience any sort of trauma, it's going to impact you, your nervous system. And really, I mean, working with a therapist, you'll know, like, is this something I've repressed, or is this something I truly, you know, have processed and felt resilient to? And I guess my question for you there would be, do you feel like you've ever had a moment where you let the really scared, fearful parts of experiencing that come forward and like sit with it? Like sit with that, like, even if it was just one part of you that was like, oh my God, what? Yeah. What is this? And like cry it out, feel it out, like run through that piece of emotion, because I think unless you're doing that, it's really hard to know.
Right, exactly.
Did I move through this or not?
Right,
you know?
I know. And I'm sharing that too, because I feel like people listening might be dealing with the same thing where it's like, oh, I don't know what was trauma, or like, I absolutely do know what was traumatizing, because again, we're trying to figure out like how to remove, because right when I listened to that episode, I don't know which episode it was about removing blocks, I was like, what blocks do I have? Because I want to remove them today so I can start manifesting, you know, the life that I dream of.
Yeah.
And so I really was thinking about these like big things, these small things. And yeah, I think that it does come into play for sure in certain areas of my life as far as like vulnerability, right? I'm not as open to trusting because of that. And so I think that is maybe an element that is with it, but I don't know.
So kind of the way that we like unpack it in the workshops is like, let's say you're manifesting one thing. You can go by, okay, manifesting this one thing. What are the blocks that feel tied to that specific thing? So like what's something you're calling in right now?
Right. So let's say promotion.
Okay. Like promotion for podcast or promotion for
like a job.
Let's say promotion at your job.
Yeah,
great. So if you're going for a promotion at your job, it's like, okay, what are all the ways that you don't feel worthy of it now? Why don't you have that now? You know, it's almost like, ooh, what were the ways I was settling? Where could I, you know, not say no? Was I having difficulty advocating for myself? And oftentimes in our working environments, it mirrors dynamics we've had with parents, because we're trying to bring that piece up so we can sort of like heal any relationships we've had there. So it's like, okay, am I sort of having this sort of dance dynamic that I had with my parents, with my boss, where, oh, I feel like I can't trust my boss just like I felt like I couldn't trust my dad.
Wow.
You know, like what is that piece?
So it's like, don't gloss over any detail of what you're trying to manifest.
Yes.
It's really break it down. Yeah, I love that. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like really pad of paper and quiet
like
time and like, yeah, exactly. And then once you do that, you can see that. And then what?
So with the To Be Magnetic work, we have like a library. We call them Deep Imaginings, and they're all of our hypnosis audio that help you drop into that subconscious state. If you have an EMDR therapist, you could do that with them. Somatic experiencing is great to like calm the nervous system, to get in. But basically, you want to have a moment where you're in that deep sort of theta wave state, and you're bringing forward what's happened, and you're processing all your feelings around it. You know, you're letting that part speak. You're letting that inner child speak. You're witnessing them, seeing them in a new way, and then you're getting a healing. And that doesn't mean that you sort of make pretend that everything's okay. Maybe that healing is a version of your higher self you bring in and say, hey, that was so hard. Are you okay? Like, I'm going to be here for you. Like, I'm with you no matter what. Don't worry. Like, I know this is so difficult, you know, that happened with your dad, and, you know, really nurturing you in a different way. And then you can implant that new positive belief at the end.
Wow.
So we have different, you know, deep imaginings for different things. So one for inner child, which you can pull any general thing in there, one for unblocked, but then we have like speaking your needs. So if it's someone where you never got to speak your piece, or you have resentment, that's a great one. You know, there's ones for connecting with your authenticity. So it's just, you kind of go in there and say, like, what am I needing? Where am I triggered?
Yeah.
And how can I start to peel back those onion layers?
Yeah, this is so deep. Like, it's so much deeper than just knowing about manifestation or meditating for 5 minutes a day. You know, this is like the true work. And I feel like that's thrown around so much, like, gotta do the work. Or, well, what is that? And it could, you know, therapy is the work as well.
100%.
And this is like another level of the work and another step into really manifesting, the life that you want, into making it come into fruition. So I also wanted to talk about neuroplasticity. And my definition of that is pretty much like, I mean, I don't know, but I was thinking like your brain is a sponge, right? So what you consume, what you watch on social media, if you watch trash TV, if you know, whatever your brain is consuming that, and that is what you're then energetically attracting.
Yeah, so neuroplasticity is really the ability of the brain to change and grow over time, to create new neural pathways. And we had an expert on, Monica Parker, who basically described neuroplasticity as a ski slope. So if you think about a ski slope, you have a trail that, let's say it just snowed. Okay, now you're going down the trail, you're carving it with your skis. That's one neural pathway. That's the firing and wiring together. So that's kind of like, when I go up for an audition, I think, I'm scared to put myself out there. They're going to judge me because I have all these memories of that. So, okay, great. So that ski slope is starting to create its formation. And then you go over it years and years and years, like, oh, wow, when I put myself out there, I was rejected by this friend. And look, I was in this audition and also like by my parent and, in this working environment. And so it's like that neural pathway gets, you know, more and more carved out to the point where it's so strong. It's like the automatic path.
Wow, you keep skiing down that
again
route.
And again.
Route. Wow.
And so neuroplasticity is saying, okay, I see this path I'm taking. Let's make a new one. But you need emotional intensity and repetition to make that the default pathway. Because when you have that, you know, that audition again, you're still going to default by the old one, even if you started carving the new one. And this is where, you know, your affirmations or doing the subconscious reprogramming work comes into play. The more you can make that new pathway something connected to emotion, because that helps like give us a lot of intensity in order to create the new one, and repetition, like continuing every day to reinforce this new belief, and then take action in alignment and show yourself, when I came to this audition and I wasn't afraid of rejection, or I was afraid, but I did it anyways, I was safe. I wasn't rejected. It wasn't my worst fear. And then you can kind of train your brain to see, now I can take this pathway as the default. And when you move from that limiting belief one to the new one, that's when
abundance
stuff
appears.
starts coming in. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I love that. How do you think we can manifest confidence?
Yeah.
Because I think that is at the heart of so much, right? Like, I believe that how you gain abundance in your life is through confidence, right? Like, and I'm not talking about confident walking in a room, I'm pretty. No, confident in what you're talking about, confident in pursuing something, confidence in telling your husband that you are going to quit and do this new thing, confidence in telling your parents that you're not going to college. Like, how can you cultivate or manifest confidence in your life? I feel like that is such a big thing of just not feeling worthy of like taking action on what our dreams are, what we actually want to do.
Yeah. So Lacey kind of says that law of attraction truly is your self-worth is in alignment with what you're calling in. So your self-worth, and I say self-worth especially because it's even deeper than confidence.
Love
confidence is fleeting. You know, one day you're having a good day, the other day you're not. You're human. That's natural. That's, you know, you're going to have ebbs and flows in life, but it's a baseline of, I'm not going to settle for this. I'm going to say no to this. This is hard. This is scary. My body feels fear, but I know when I step through it, I got myself. It's almost a sense of resiliency. Like, no matter what happens, I can handle what comes next. And so one of the places I like to start with someone, you know, trying to bolster that confidence is really understanding where they're giving it away. Who are they giving that power to? Who are they putting their validation? Like, who are they thinking about when they want the reflection of confidence? Who is it from? Because we have to transfer it and take that power back from all those outside places we're giving it out and bring it back to ourselves. So it's like, oh, I'm confident because my social media is big, right? Okay, well, what if it was low? Would you still have that confidence? You know, like if you didn't have that anymore, we still have the confidence. So that means now social media is the predictor of that. And so you're not actually confident. You're just reflecting back this false sense of confidence. So if you can start to see all the ways where you're looking for validation and you're looking for, it's really a sense of safety and security. Like, will I be okay? Will I be accepted? Will I be rejected from the group if I'm here? Where can you look at where you're placing that and start to kind of heal the wounding and the patterning of where you learned that that's where you should place it. And the other thing I kind of want to touch on here too is like, it's not about like shaming yourself or blaming yourself for having these beliefs. Every single piece of, validation you put in other people or limiting belief was a coping mechanism. Like you picked that up so you could survive in your surroundings.
Right.
So it's not this, oh man, I'm broken, I'm messed up. It's like, no, you are actually operating the way you're supposed to operate.
Right.
And now that you're an adult, you can say, thank you, kid version, for having my back. I'm going to kind of teach you some new things now. We're going to operate from a different level. And that's really the goal of where you take that power back. And that's where you have that true inner confidence, because you don't need anyone else to give you licensing to have it.
Yeah, which is so hard this day and age with social media. And like, I can tell you guys right now that, you know, whether I like it or not, if a post doesn't do well, there is a smidge, not right. I've trained myself to be like, okay, that I'm not giving all my power to social media, but there's a little bit of you that's like, damn, I wish that it got a little more action, you know? And so I feel like for people that give all their power to social media, it can really be detrimental. And so to take any of that power back could be so powerful for you and make you feel empowered, because then it just, it's comparison and all that. It just goes into a deep rabbit hole.
One thing before I move on there, I think, you know, if you find yourself in that place where you're like, dang, that kind of hurt a little bit, instead of just saying like, okay, but I'm strong, I got this, I'm going to move on. That's almost like ignoring the feeling. So if you can almost give your space, like even if you set a timer for 5 minutes, you're like, I'm going to process this. Like, what is my fear with this? What am I scared? What am I saying that this represents to me? You know, does this mean, oh my gosh, what if I never get that many likes again and then I can't do my career? Usually there's some sort of a spiral and a story we're telling ourselves. And if you can sit for a second and be like, is that really what's happening? Is that really the case? Am I really going to lose everything because this one post didn't have it? Or am I good?
Yeah.
You know, can I look at, we call it expanders, but can I look at the times that didn't happen? Or I had a low post and then the next day I had a really high one and everything was fine. You know, so almost like use those opportunities when you feel any tinge or twinge of that to explore it and like give it a second to just be there. Because when we like stuff it down, that's when it'll like build and build and build.
Yeah, you're so right. I'm so glad that you brought that up. Thank you. Yeah. And you're getting to know yourself deeper by taking that time and space for yourself, which we never do. You know, taking 5 minutes in the middle of the day. Are you kidding me? But how powerful it could be, which then leads to manifesting, right? Because you're breaking down those blocks.
Yes.
I love that. Well, I wanted to ask you, what have you manifested in the last year?
Oh my gosh, so much. I think when I first started manifesting with To Be Magnetic, it was more material things like job and money and, you know, home items. And I still throw them on the list because I think they're really fun to like play with. And it's just kind of, it comes through in the most wild ways and you'll just get the most random things. But I think more recently, it's a lot of the internal stuff. It's like, okay, how can I show up and allow myself to be seen? And I was, you know, I started co-hosting the podcast, Expanded for To Be Magnetic in 2019. And I was like, okay, I'm on this big podcast and I'm co-hosting with the founder. What are people going to think of me? What are, you know, am I speaking all right? And I had all these limiting beliefs in my head that were just like, I thought I had worked through and they just poured in. And over the last year, I was like, I really want to just ground into my voice more and more and more. And it's a, you know, an ever changing or an ever evolving onion layer that I'm peeling back, getting closer to it. I'm like, what would it mean to really just allow myself to be seen, allow my voice to be out there, stop micromanaging in my head what I think the audience wants to hear, and just speak from the heart. And so that has been, you know, I did a little shadow exercise where I listed like every mean thing I thought anyone could ever say if I spoke honestly. And I was like, okay, how would I cope if this was the case? How would I cope if they did this? How would I cope if this happened? And shifting through that, I mean, I was rarely posting. I would notice how even in my actions, I wouldn't really post on social media that much. I was kind of like, I was in the shadows. And then when I finally was like, no, I'm excited to share this. I want to share this. I want to talk about this. I want to make a little nature reel because that brings me joy. All of a sudden I noticed my social growing. And it was not at all a goal to grow my social,
right,
but that was this interesting byproduct of allowing myself to feel safe, to be seen.
Wow.
So that's probably one of the biggest. And then like, you know, cool trips and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you just start by, you know, doing your unblocking, and then do you do a lot of writing?
Yeah, I do writing. We have like journal prompts to kind of like get to your root before jumping in. One of the easiest ways you can like fit the unblocking work into your day is like, okay, what triggered me today?
Yeah.
Where did I feel out of alignment? Where did I feel insecure? And let's kind of look at the root of that. And then there's journal prompts to kind of get to like, all right, where did this pattern repeat in childhood? And can I do some like excavating there?
I love it. Yeah. Alignment. I feel like that's such a strong word, especially with my definition of manifestation, which is like really being in alignment with an opportunity and taking action, and then like things happen. So if someone's feeling out of alignment, what do you think is a habit that they can do every single day to find their purpose?
I think you really have to cultivate, and that's one thing I've really got from this work too, is like a deep sense of self-love. Whenever anyone would say that, I would be like, okay, I love you, Jess. Like, I didn't really get it. And I think self-love to me means being able to show up for yourself, to, you know, look at all the parts of you, even the parts that you're like cringe, you know, really sit with them and be like, oh, okay, these are all me. And, you know, this is what it feels like when I'm excited by something. This is what it feels like when something doesn't feel right here and I need to set a boundary. This is what it feels like when, you know, I'm getting sort of creative inspiration. And this is how my nervous system feels when I'm doing that. And it's like deeply knowing yourself is self-love. So I think more
check-ins,
connection. Yeah. Like more connection to yourself, just really getting to know you as if you were dating you.
Like literally take yourself on a date. Go to a restaurant by yourself, put your phone away, and be with yourself, with your, you know, have a date with yourself. And, you know, that's why magic was created, because I think that every single day, and I just did it for the mornings because I read a lot about the science behind morning routines, and I was like, this is where that's going to fit. You can do it any time of day, but creating that time and space for yourself, for self-love, and to develop a deeper knowing of who you are.
Yeah. Which
ultimately leads to, I guess, manifestation, right? With things that you want in your life. Because is there a way to manifest the wrong thing? And I want to be careful here because I don't want people to get anxiety about like, what if I'm thinking something bad and it starts manifesting this bad thing? But I think there is a way, like relationships, for example. My ex-boyfriend, amazing guy, we didn't work out, but like I absolutely manifested him, right? Because that's where I was in my life. And we were so meant to do the pandemic together and everything, and it ended up not working out. And now I'm in a totally different place in my life. And I've manifested a completely different man, right? And yeah.
Yeah. So Lacey has this really interesting philosophy, and I totally agree with her, where it's like everything showing up in your life is kind of a mirror for places for you to go back and peel back the onion layer and get to healing. So you can think of it that we really believe that when you came onto this earth, you are a whole, worthy, authentic, like unique being. And then through ages of 0 to 7, 14, 26 is when the brain stops or it gets to a certain level of development. We're picking up all of these pain, shame, programming, all of these things that we're layering on that are kind of almost like blocking our filter of our true self. And so the idea is like continue to pull back the layers to examine it. And so when you think about manifesting, one, you're manifesting from your subconscious. So the day-to-day crazy thoughts of like, oh God, what about this? Don't worry. That's, it's not really, it's what does your subconscious self-worth say about whatever you're calling in? But then take a look at, we always say you're always manifesting, just you need to get into the driver's seat you're always manifesting whether you like it or not. Like what's showing up in your life is a manifestation of where your self-worth is at in relation to that thing. So for your relationship, maybe it wasn't the ultimate relationship, but there were probably a lot of lessons where you were able to look at what's some of my wounding? What are some of my pain points? And then when you can be intentional with, okay, I actually don't want stuff like that. That didn't feel good. I don't want that in my life. That's when you can kind of pivot and play with it and heal the different layers of yourself and really be in the driver's seat with your manifestations. And then one sort of disclaimer or caveat to this is I don't want anyone to think that they're attracting like abuse. They're not you're not manifesting horrific things. There are awful things in society that are out of our scope. So I don't want anyone to think, okay, I called in all of these horrible, horrific things. Not at all. That's just like we're human beings. There are awful things that happen. But to our ability, we can then transform those things and have a new path forward. So it's kind of, you have the power to change in what's showing up in your life, and you have to hold space for the fact that there are things that are out of our control.
Is there anything else within manifestation that you think that no one would like know about besides, we talked about unblocking and childhood and traumas, like something that someone would be like, whoa, I did not know that was a huge part of being able to manifest?
I think expanders is a really interesting piece because expanders are really the people that you're surrounded with or the moments you're surrounded with where your subconscious starts to believe that new empowering belief. And I think you'd be really surprised if you think about what you're manifesting right now. Think about the 5 to 10 people in your life that you interact with on a regular basis. What are the subconscious messages you're getting from their life about your manifestation?
Oh my God.
So I can picture everyone's
crazy.
like, like if you're calling in, let's say, a certain income level and you look at all of the people that you are with the most, and this is just like a quick exercise to think of it, but how much are they making? How do they talk about money? Do they shame people who have money? Do they think it's so hard to get it? What are the conversations that you are picking up just by being in connection in relation to them? And no, this doesn't mean you need to like drop all of your friends in a way.
Right.
It just means you need to fill your sphere with people that are in the mindset that you want to be in. Because you have to think of like, if you're wanting to manifest something, it's getting to the state where like, oh, I know this is coming. I'm not in fear. I'm not in desperation. I don't see it as above me. I just see it as something that's going to hit me on my path. Mm-hmm. And so if you're putting it on this pedestal, how do you surround yourself with people who don't have it on a pedestal either? It just naturally is in their life. Mm-hmm. So where can you connect with more people where that flow is open?
Yes. Something as simple as energy, right? The people that you're around, like the things they're complaining about are the things that it's now being put in your head all the time. It's like if you had a mother that was like super negative or something. And so you would have to go back into, all the times that after school she picked you up and was like complaining about something. Or I remember every single day for my entire life at 4 p.m. Dr. Phil was on like every day. And that's definitely impacted me from all those horrifying stories that I've heard. I don't watch any show that has to do with like traumatizing, or like murder mysteries or anything like that, because I'm like trying to shield myself from that.
It's putting that fear in.
Yeah. There's enough fear. And like I could scroll on social media and see something that I don't want to see, or like news or something terrible happening, or people talking on the side of the street. Like, I'd rather not inundate myself with that as much as I possibly can, because I believe in, you know, the energy, and the 5 people we surround ourselves with is like the sum of kind of who we are. Okay, well, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I know I've learned so much. There was a point where I was like, I wanted to go to my laptop and start taking notes, and I was like, oh my God, no, like, you can listen to this back and take notes. You don't have to start writing stuff right now. I guess one more thing I will ask is, I'm such a person of like high performance habits, and I'm wondering if there's anything that you do every single day that kind of contributes to the health and wellness in your life.
I try to do it 3 to 5 times a week, but it is that subconscious inventory. It's really saying, what is presenting in my life right now that is giving me an obstacle? Like, where are my sticking points? Where am I emotionally off kilter? Where am I getting pulled back? And giving myself those deep imaginings to really sit with and process them. You know, like, I'm in therapy, and I think therapy is fantastic, and anyone that has access, I highly recommend it. But being able to explore it on my own has just been mind changing. And the weeks that I kind of like let that go to the wayside, I'm like irritable and annoyed. I'm like, what is going on? Oh, right. It's almost like processing the steam, you know, like you're building up and building up and building up. And unless you can transfer that into a more constructive way of thinking, then it's going to be really hard to continue on forward. And it also helps you be accountable. Oh, was that person really saying that? Or did I perceive them saying that because I am so afraid of being seen in that way?
Wow, I love that.
You know, so I think that's really helpful. And honestly, the magic journal would be such a good way for people to just start taking inventory of like what's coming up. Just awareness is so important.
Conscious, right? Conscious living rather than unconscious living.
Absolutely.
And taking pen to paper every single day, or doing a habit like taking inventory on that subconscious realm of what's going on, could be so life-changing and mind-changing. And again, we're opening those pathways to start manifesting what we deserve and what we want. And because we can only manifest what we can actually think of, right? And I feel like so many of us are so blocked probably about what is even, my little mantra to myself when I am going through hard times is like, there's something so big out there for me that I can't even wrap my mind around it right now.
Yes.
And I think by doing the unblocking, that's how we can start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel when we are feeling so low.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so tell people where to find you and To Be Magnetic. I'm definitely going to link all this. You guys are going to leave this podcast and go straight to theirs and listen to a couple episodes. It's so inspiring. Yeah. Just from this conversation, I truly feel inspired. Like, I'm going to be honest, guys, I haven't done any of this specific work. I've done therapy. I do a lot of journaling. And look, we all have our own ways that I'm sure, you know, you could still manifest in ways that you are, you know, you're taking action on your dreams, and you journal, and you're in therapy, and you're a good person, right? Good things are going to happen to you. But I feel like this is just such a deeper level of existence that sounds so exciting to be on, like the journey of.
Yeah. You will get deep, but it is crazy how quickly those shifts can happen and how you can see a completely different reality on the other side.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I know. We got to get you in there. I'm excited.
I will. I am. I'm so excited. I feel like I have so many different endeavors right now going on, and in my limiting beliefs or whatever, none of them right now are like hitting, and I'm like, something's off. I know something's off, right? And so I really want to uncover that. And I think that the little habits that I have are great, but there's something missing and something else that I could be doing. And I truly think that To Be Magnetic is going to be a really great tool for me.
Yeah. Oh, so I can't wait. I feel like you're going to find it. So you're gonna be like, holy shit, it was this thing.
Wow.
Like it's so clear once you're in there.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll obviously keep everyone on the podcast updated when I do start taking those. But yeah, so where can everyone find you and To Be Magnetic?
Yeah, so you can follow To Be Magnetic at To Be Magnetic on Instagram, tobemagnetic.com. That's where all of our workshops and meditations and all of those things live. The expanded podcast, you can follow. That's where we talk about all manifestation. It's your manifesting, hand-holding podcast for everything in your process. And then you can follow me at Jessica Ashley Gill on Instagram. And then anyone who's curious about jumping in, you can use the code Jessica for 15% off your
Yay,
membership.
I'm using that code.
Yes.
Okay, well, that will all be in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for coming out and chatting with me.
Yes, thank you. So fun.